We are now 48 hours removed from the 2020 NHL trade deadline, and I was going to make this video yesterday, but I kinda wanted to wait an extra day and gather more of my thoughts for all the trades that actually happened, and I did actually get to see a couple of the traded players make their debuts with their new team. So for today's video, I'm going to go over 3 winners and 3 losers from the 2020 deadline, and remember, this is just my opinion, and for most of these trades, we're probably going to have to wait a lot longer to actually see who ends up winning the trade, but these are just some of the teams that I think did really well and some of the teams that didn't do so well. So without wasting any more time, here are my 3 winners and losers from the 2020 trade deadline. Before I get into the actual 3 picks for winners and losers, I do have an honorable mention chosen for both, and my honorable mention for winner has to be the Ottawa Senators. I think they did a great job gathering assets and trading off some of their veteran players to really help the rebuild. In total, the Ottawa Senators acquired a first and a second round pick in the 2020 draft. They also got a conditional third in 2021. The chances of them actually getting that third are pretty slim, but there still is a chance. They also picked up a 4th and a 5th in the 2021 draft, and they also got Matthew Pekka, who they traded away Aaron Luchuk in a 2027 to get. The subtractions were obviously Jean-Gabriel Pageau, Tyler Ennis, and Vlad Namestnikov, all pretty solid players, but again, Ottawa is rebuilding, and they now have a ton of draft picks over the next 2 years. My loser honorable mention definitely has to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Their one acquisition was bringing back Calle Rosen in exchange for goaltender Michael Hutchinson, who they no longer needed after acquiring Jack Campbell. Rosen is most likely going to slot into the lineup now, especially since Jake Muzzin went down with injury, but still, he really doesn't move the needle that much for the Maple Leafs. I personally thought Kyle Dubas was going to be a lot more active, but he decided to stay quiet, and who knows, that could be a good move because they did play very well last night against Tampa Bay and picked up the win, but again, I just kind of thought they were going to do a little bit more, so I'm not calling them blatant losers, but they're my honorable mention. Now, my first actual winner, I have the San Jose Sharks. Their additions were Anthony Greco, Brendan Davidson, a 2020 first round pick, and a conditional 2021 third round pick that could become a second if the Penguins win the cup. Their subtractions were Patrick Marleau, Barclay Goodrow, and a 2020 third round pick, and I'm really just impressed that they got a first rounder for Barclay Goodrow. Sure, they had to give up the third round pick too, but I would take that any day of the week, especially considering San Jose is a team that is going to miss the playoffs. Their first rounder is going to be in the lottery, but it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the Ottawa Senators. They got it in the Erik Karlsson trade. So it is nice that San Jose at least now has a first round pick in this up and coming draft. I also think they did really well in the Patrick Marleau trade. He's definitely not the player that he once was, and while yeah, I think he can be a pretty valuable asset for Pittsburgh, they got a third round pick for him that could potentially turn into a second. Overall, I think the Sharks had a pretty good day and did a good job of getting some assets for the future. Man, I really feel for Joe Thornton. Personally, I thought 100% the San Jose Sharks were going to trade him and give him an opportunity to chase the Stanley Cup. It would just be a rental, and he would most likely just re-sign in San Jose in the offseason anyways, but he is just going to have to ride it out for the rest of the year with the Sharks and not make the playoffs, and it's probably a lot tougher on Thornton because his buddy Patrick Marleau actually was traded to Pittsburgh, who is a contender, and he's going to get an opportunity to go on a playoff run. And after the deadline passed, here are some things Thornton had to say about not being moved. Yeah, obviously I was willing to go somewhere and try to win my first Stanley Cup. I've been dreaming about that ever since I can remember, and it just didn't come to fruition for whatever reason. I wanted to get something back for the Sharks, obviously, to help them continue this process with the young guys, but it didn't work out. When Thornton was asked about why he thinks he wasn't traded, here's what he had to say. I really don't know. Obviously, the interested teams went in a different direction. That's obviously what happened because I'm still here and still a Shark, which I'm happy to be, but I wanted another shot at the cup. I'm getting a little bit older. It's not my last hurrah. I still think I've got more years left, but as you get older, you realize you only have so many shots at this thing. It would have been nice to at least have a chance. Thornton went on to say, I wanted a shot, you know. Believe it or not, I've been hunting this thing down for 22 years, so I wanted another shot at it. I wanted to get something back for the Sharks in return. It just didn't work out. Back to the grind, and that's how it is. Reading all this really kind of makes me feel bad for Joe Thornton that he's not going to get a chance at the cup this year, but hey, at least he said this wasn't his last year and he thinks he's got a couple more left. And for Joe Thornton's sake, I really hope there is a good amount of contenders that are interested in signing him in the offseason. My next winner is the Edmonton Oilers. I knew 100% I was going to have them in this video. I just love the moves that they made. I think Ken Holland did a really good job adding pieces that are going to fit in with the team. Those additions included Andreas Athanasiou, Mike Green, and Tyler Ennis. Their subtractions were Sam Gagner, the contract of Kyle Brodziak, a second and a fifth in 2021, a 2020 second, and a conditional 2024. As soon as I saw they added Athanasiou, one of my first thoughts were that is going to be super fun to watch. Athanasiou and McDavid are two of the fastest players in the NHL and are now most likely going to be skating on the same line. I also really like the pickup of Tyler Ennis. I think that's a really underrated gift for them because he is a quick, skilled forward that also can play with Connor McDavid, and last night that's exactly what happened. McDavid was centering both Ennis and Athanasiou. And even though the Oilers lost the game in overtime, there was a lot of great signs. The line of Athanasiou, McDavid, and Ennis played very well together. McDavid picked up 3 assists on the night, while Andreas Athanasiou and Tyler Ennis both had a goal and an assist each. They did give up a decent amount of draft picks, but this is a team that's been trying to contend ever since they got Connor McDavid, and Ken Holland has done something in his first deadline with the Oilers that Chiarelli couldn't do for the longest time, and that is get McDavid a couple of skilled wingers. My next loser is the Chicago Blackhawks. They did get a couple of draft picks, but overall, for what they lost, I don't really think they got a good amount in return. Their additions included Malcolm Subban, Slava Demin, TJ Brennan, and a second in 2020 and a third in 2020. The players that the Blackhawks moved out included Nathan Noel, Robin Lehner, and Eric Gustafsson, who, remember, just had 60 points as a defenseman last year. I mean, the Blackhawks probably would have been better off if they had traded him in the offseason. I mean, they probably would have gotten a much better return than just a third round pick, and for Robin Lehner, they got Demin, Subban, and a second, which isn't a bad return, but Robin Lehner was having a really good year for them. It's not like Chicago is one of the worst teams in the NHL. They're 8 points out of the second wildcard spot in the West. They're kind of hanging around in that playoff race, but now after the deadline, I definitely think they're a worse team than they were before. It'll be pretty interesting to see how the rest of their season goes, and like I said, they did get a couple of good pieces. Slava Demin is a decent prospect, and the second round pick is cool and everything, but how much is that really going to benefit them for the future? We're going to have to wait and see. My next winner is the Carolina Hurricanes. They were a very busy team. They brought in Vincent Trocheck, Sami Vatanen, and Brady Shea, and to bring those guys in, they gave up Lucas Wallmark, Eric Haula, Chase Priskie, Ito Lustrarian, a 2020 first round pick, Yanni Kukkonen, Frederick Claesson, and a conditional 2024. Obviously, that is a good amount of assets to give up, but when you look at everything they brought in, I think they are a better team now than they were before the deadline. I thought the Vincent Trocheck move was random, but really good for them. I'm a big Trocheck fan, and if he can get back to the way he was playing in 2017-2018, that trade will look like a steal for them. And with the injuries to Brett Pesce and Dougie Hamilton, it was known that they wanted to acquire some help on the blue line, and they did exactly that in bringing in Sami Vatanen and Brady Shea. Could you imagine if their entire D-core was healthy right now? They have the likes of Vatanen, Shea, Dougie Hamilton, Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce, Joel Edmondson, Jake Gardiner, Hayden Fleury. There is so many good defensemen in Carolina right now. And while yes, I know they're all not going to be healthy at the same time, it is still pretty crazy to think about how many good defensemen are on that roster right now. And now to finish out the video, my final loser is the Florida Panthers. Their additions included Eric Haula, Lucas Wallmark, Eetu Luostarinen, Chase Priskie, and Emil Juice, and their subtractions were Vincent Trocheck and a 6th round pick in this up-and-coming draft. I guess I'm just really not a fan of the Panthers trading Vincent Trocheck. He's on a great contract. I thought he's a great second-line center for them. I really just didn't think it made that much sense. We're gonna have to wait and see how this one plays out, but I think there is a very strong chance Florida could end up regretting this. The two prospects that got in the trade are actually having some pretty solid years in the American Hockey League, so that is definitely a plus for them. But I don't know, I think Florida had a weird deadline, and the Dennis Mulligan for Mason Marchment trade, I wasn't really a fan of that either. I know it doesn't count because it wasn't on deadline day, but they basically helped out the team that they're battling with for the 3rd spot in the Atlantic. That trade really kind of confused me as well, but I don't know, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I may be being a little bit too hard on Florida here, but I really don't think trading Vincent Trocheck Voracek was the right move. But that is going to do it for today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. That is also going to basically wrap up my coverage of the 2020 NHL trade deadline. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below who your winners and losers are, and who do you think are some of the underrated pickups that some teams made. And with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please feel free to go down there and drop a like it. And if you guys are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more NHL content like this. And I will see you guys all in the next video.